it got us thinking, and I think this is a reasonable question. Where was this Nikki Haley for the past 11 months? But she is here now, and she's clearly gotten under Donald Trump's skin. Corey Lewandowski is here, former campaign manager for Donald Trump in 2016. Corey, I see you smiling. This is a question. And look, I think we can all agree, you and I talked on the night of the New Hampshire primary, that Donald Trump is the undisputed frontrunner in the Republican Party. But Trump's performance in New Hampshire, 2016, 33.5% of the vote. 2024, 54.4% of the vote. He got more, but he won by a lot less. He was, 20 points ahead in 2016 of the nearest competitor, and he was about 12 points ahead of Nikki Haley is where things ended up. So why declare this over? Why is this over after only 2 states voted?
Well, Leland, look, the history has indicated that no candidate of either party has ever won both in Iowa and in New Hampshire and not gone on to secure their respective nomination. We have seen when a candidate wins in Iowa or wins in New Hampshire, the battle has historically continued. But Donald Trump had a decisive victory by record margins in Iowa. He came here to my home state of New Hampshire, won there. And look, his next contest is going to be in the state of Nevada. Nikki Haley is not even participating in that contest, which is a little surprising to me. When delegates are at stake, she did not do the necessary work to go and try and secure some of those delegates. So her next opportunity to go after Donald Trump via the delegate process, which is what it takes to become the nominee, is in her home state of South Carolina at the end of February. So it's a long time away. She has to continue to maintain a high profile and continue to challenge him. But the only way to be the nominee is to secure delegates.
No, look, no argument that he's the undisputed frontrunner. So I guess my question is, why does he care? There's a statement just out today, kiss of death, Nikki Haley went on. She spends all her time on the campaign trail complaining about President Trump is dominating the primary caucuses. She's resorted to name calling. There's something a little rich about Donald Trump complaining about name calling. And I think about some of his attacks on her. If he's the presumptive nominee, if his enemy is Joe Biden and he's going to run away with this, why bother attacking Nikki Haley?
Well, Leland, because look, here's the thing. We all know what the Biden administration has done to this country for the last 3 years. And if Nikki Haley decides to get out of the race and support Donald Trump, it allows him to put the full apparatus of the Republican National Committee behind him. There doesn't have to be some kind of resolution passed, as they talked about today. So what that would do is allows Donald Trump to focus squarely on the November election. Instead, Nikki Haley wants to stay in this race. There's no true path forward for her as the nominee, and it will just continue to divide the Republicans and spend money against ourselves and give Joe Biden that pass. Because, look, for all of Joe Biden's credit—
Corey, I get that. I get why he wants to be considered the presumptive nominee. Anybody would be. But if Nikki Haley's not a threat, as you have laid out why you don't believe she is, why bother talking about her? Why elevate her? Why allow cable news segments to begin with this rather than talking about Donald Trump's attacks on Joe Biden?
Well, because, look, unfortunately, the media has perpetuated Nikki up as this amazing candidate recently, and she did amazingly well in Iowa, and she did amazingly well in New Hampshire, and, she's down 40 points in her home state. Donald Trump has the endorsement of every elected official in the state of South Carolina. Yeah. I look forward to that race coming. And so, if you're Nikki Haley and you really want to defeat Joe Biden, which you tell us is what your goal is, then let's unite and get that done. We cannot, as a country, afford another 4 years of the Biden administration.
I'm glad you brought that up because it's a fascinating question. And she on the stump talks about how she does much better in the polls, and you just brought up polls. She does much better in the polls against Joe Biden. She does much better in swing states. She does much better with independent voters. She does much better with all of the people, right, who voted for Donald Trump in 2016 and then voted for Joe Biden in 2020, and that's why Joe Biden won. Isn't there a theory here that Donald Trump needs Nikki Haley? More importantly, Donald Trump needs Nikki Haley's supporters a lot more than Nikki Haley needs Donald Trump?
Well, the reality is, in the closed primary system, Donald Trump is unbeatable. Donald Trump beats Nikki Haley by 60 points amongst the Republican electorate. So when you get to these closed primary states, the winner take all states.
Corey, no argument there. I'm not talking about the closed primary system. I'm talking about beating Joe Biden, which is what you said was so important. And in terms of beating Joe Biden, Donald Trump needs Nikki Haley's supporters in order to do that. I'm not sure how calling her bird brain and disparaging her supporters gets you to your end goal or gets Donald Trump to his end goal.
But, Leland, I just want to remind everybody, in 2016, they told us Jeb Bush would be the great candidate who could beat Hillary Clinton. He was a much more moderate Republican. And we've heard this time and time again. When the Republican Party nominated Mitt Romney, he's a moderate. He can win in a blue state. He got trounced by Barack Obama. Look, what we saw in 2016 was those men and women who were forgotten, who were left behind because the failed policies of the previous administrations came out and supported Donald Trump in record numbers. I think we're there again, and the southern border crisis cuts across every socioeconomic status, every geopolitical environment, every wealth demographic there is, every race and age and ethnicity demographic. And if we don't get that under control, and the American people believe Donald Trump is the person to get that under control, we don't have a country. So I think Donald Trump is going to win, potentially on that issue alone. Do we want Nikki Haley supporters? Donald Trump wants everybody supporting him. But the fact is, the top of the ticket has to be tough, and Donald Trump's the person who can win.
Well, you got us actually the perfect segue to our border segment, which is where we're headed right now. Corey, thank you as always. We appreciate the time. Let us know when you're in D.C. We'd love to see you. Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.